Well, hello and welcome back to the Rest of Saga YouTube channel. And this week we're back talking about my 1976 Land Rover Series 3 88-inch diesel. And I'm going to walk around the Land Rover and tell you a bit more about what I'm planning to do next to this Land Rover. As you know, it's a bit of a rolling restoration, there's lots to be done, and I'm never short of jobs to do. So let's have a quick look round and talk about what's next. I think the Land Rover's looking particularly well at the minute, and it's limestone repaint. There's a video on the channel of how I did that, and I actually haven't washed this in quite some time. It's got a bit dusty and dirty just from being out on the winter roads, but I think it's looking particularly well in a sort of cosmetic fashion at the minute. So let's start at the front. You might have recently caught my video on the Fairey winch. Some people have noticed that I keep the number plate in the middle. That might look a bit silly in terms of using the winch itself, but I have this on two quick release riv nuts there. Very easy just to remove the winch, or the number plate, and get on with using the winch. So the winch itself has a bit of a leak. You can see a puddle here underneath, and if you look, there is EP90 just seeping around from the gasket there. So that's definitely something that needs looked at. I need to take the bottom plate off the winch, put a new gasket on with plenty of sealant, and get that done. So that's job number one on the winch. Number two, I need a rope. I haven't actually used this winch in anger yet, so I'm going to buy a rope for it. Now, I know there's some ropes out there already for sale and they have a hook on them. They're quite expensive, so I'm going to try and work out if I can do them for a little bit cheaper, and if I do, I'll let you know, so that you can do it yourself. Another thing, in terms of if I'm using winching, I'd like to put two little D-rings on the front of the Land Rover. That means if I want to double the pull weight, so this is a 4,000 pound winch, which is approximately 2 tons according to my maths, or 1.8 or thereabouts. If I want to double the pull strength, I can run a pulley to what I'm pulling and attach it back onto here. So double the strength, but the item will move half the speed. So I want to put D-rings on the front to account for that. Now, I really put this winch on shortly before I moved house, so it was a pretty quick job. And I cut my apron panel. Why did I cut my original? Well, have you seen the price of other ones? They're really, really expensive. And I'm probably going to keep the winch on here, so I cut it, but I haven't painted it. So I need to I'm probably going to strip the paint back off this and repaint it completely, rather than trying to patch it in, because that's never a good job. I want to tidy up these little radii here, so there might be a little painting video. My video that I made about painting the whole Land Rover was really popular, and there are quite a few requests for sort of an instruction type how-to video on that, so that's definitely something I'll consider, and I'll use this as a demonstration piece. Let's open up the bonnet and have a look under there. Under the bonnet of the Series 3 is quite a simple affair. However, you can see where I have done the colour change. This Land Rover, as you look back through my older videos, was painted metallic black, and it was a BMW sapphire colour. And I painted this because I wanted the Land Rover to look like the SVX 90s. I think those are the 60th anniversary vehicles, and that's the look I was going for at that time. I restored this first when I was 18, and really, looking back, I thought it was pretty cool at the time, but I really do think the cream suits the Land Rover better. So, slightly longer term project compared to the winch and other bits and pieces is to carry on the repaint here within the engine bay. Realistically, this will probably more move into next winter. I don't like doing major jobs on the Land Rover in the summer because I like to get the vehicle used, whereas whenever in the winter and the roads here in Northern Ireland are all covered in salt and horrible, that's the time to do sort of major jobs. So what I'm going to do, probably next winter if I have time, is to get the bonnet off, take the wings off, maybe even the front panel, probably the front panel, because as you can see it needs painted too. Strip that all off, heater off, fuel filter, wiring, get it all tidied up around there, and then I'm going to paint as much of the bulkhead as I can in the original cream colour. So this particular paint code is as close as I get to the limestone, and that's RAL1015. I got it from a local motor factors, and I'll be doing the same thing again because it was just so easy to use. So real tidy up in the engine bay. You may also notice that the engine block itself is painted black. Again, I did this when I painted the Land Rover black. The engine itself should probably be sort of a duck egg blue type colour. I can't quite remember the name offhand, so I think it would be really nice to repaint the engine block itself in the original colour and give it all a clean up. The black's good because it hides all the oil leaks, but really the blue would be nicer. I think at the same time it'd be nice to spend a bit of money, maybe get the inlet manifold ceramic coated, and do quite a bit of tidy up. Now you'll probably wonder what this big ugly red wire is. A couple of weeks ago I went to start the Land Rover. I didn't get to make a video of it, and you'll understand why in a minute when I say this. I started the Land Rover and it turned really slowly. I knew the battery was fully charged because I'd had it on the charge overnight on my trickle charger. It ground and then ground, and then there was a little puff of smoke just appeared up around here, up underneath the windscreen. So mad panic, jumped out of the Land Rover, disconnected the wiring, and the only thing I could find that was hot was this starter cable here running up. So I pulled the dash out, no melted wires, nothing to see. And the very clever people on the Series Land Rover group on Facebook helped me out, pointing out that it was probably the earths. Now they had this earth here running from this starter all the way around to the battery, but it mustn't have been doing the job. So I moved it up here to there's a little rocker bolt there. So that all just needs tidied up, probably like a black one, slightly shorter, and just make it look like it was meant to be there in the original. The earthing in this vehicle really lets it down, needs regular maintenance. I don't understand why. I'm not particularly great at vehicle electrics, and I don't understand why it's so weak, but it's definitely worth looking into to try and explain that. So yeah, need that sorted out. The other thing is the alternator in this vehicle, and I'd appreciate any comments. The alternator in this vehicle, when I start it at idle, does not charge. But when I give it loads of revs, which I don't like doing in a cold engine for obvious reasons, it then starts charging because I have a voltmeter in the cab, up on the driver's instruments. So if someone can explain to me why that happens, I'd really appreciate it. So I might invest in an alternator that will charge from idle at cold, because I don't like revving an old cold diesel engine just to get electricity going. That seems a bit daft to me. So I just keep this on a trickle charger most of the time. So I think that's most of the jobs at the back here of, or the front, of the Land Rover. Let's look and think about what else is going to get done. Thinking about the inside of the Land Rover then, as you can suggest from the child seat, I have two little boys and a daughter now. So trying to figure out the best arrangement to cart them around. The child seat's absolutely fine, but when it comes down to getting them in, this side step is on, but it's really not great. If you look at the angle, it's very tipped down. Now when I put this in, I braced it against the floor because I didn't know what I was doing, which is obviously an aluminium panel, but with the weight of people on it, that has pushed the floor up, therefore the step has gone down. So it's going to need a bit more rearranging, and I'm going to set a riv knot into the outrigger so that this is braced properly against a steel structure and gets out at 90 degrees. It's a minor thing, but it helps the children get in and out, and they enjoy going in the Land Rover. These cream seats, which always attract a lot of comments, they're not wearing particularly well. The driver's seat's one's getting really creased there, so I might swap the seat squabs over apart from anything else. And over time, I'd like to put the 3 black deluxe type seats in. This one here is also cream underneath the child seat. So that's probably a plan as well. If we're going to the hassle of painting, this is also the original black colour, so I'd like to continue the cream in here just to get it all tidy, so that it's all ship shape and as nice and tidy as it can be. If I really want to go to detail, and I'm not sure because it's pretty major surgery, but the heater in the vehicle is not great. Now everybody will say, oh, it's a Series Land Rover, the heaters aren't great, get rid of the heater, blah blah blah. These heaters can be made to work very effectively. Now I haven't sealed the heater box particularly well against the bulkhead, and haven't sealed the dashboard against the bulkhead on the inside either. So that's something that could be worked on. And I think the little control cables could also do with a little lubrication so that they can operate the flaps to direct the airflow towards the windscreen or down into the cabin. I suspect that for next to no outlay financially, I can make the heater work really well in this vehicle, and I'd like to keep things fairly original as best I can. So that's something else. Now, you will notice that there is the black knob for an overdrive. Now, something I did not mention. Not a few years ago, 2 years ago, I was towing my vintage trailer tent to take a short break with the family, and on the way home there was an awful bang and the overdrive stopped working. Thankfully I was able to coax it back in to be disengaged, so I still had the 4 gears, but yeah, it wasn't right. So I got it home very carefully, removed the overdrive and stripped it down, and I'll show you in the box of parts what happened to it. I might even have some videos I took at the time but never actually published here on YouTube, and I'll try and splice those in as well. So this tub here contains, well, the whole box really contains the overdrive and all the bits that I've gathered up with which to rebuild it. And any comments here I would appreciate, because I've done this once before and it blew up, so I think it's time to do it properly this time. Now, this is the little washer from the back of the overdrive, and I think that in itself represents just how much movement there was in the main shaft and the heat that built up in there just to warp that. That should be somewhat thicker than it actually is. What actually happened was, there's a little bent spring in here. I can lift it out, there. So these little springs, there's 3 of those, and those maintain the little balls for the synchro mesh unit within the overdrive. And only one of the little steel ball bearings, which lives in there, out of the 3 remains. So the 3 balls all dropped out, well sorry, 2 of the 3 dropped out and made their way through the overdrive. Now there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of damage within the gears, but they will need a fair bit of fixing. So any feedback here I'd appreciate. Please keep it positive and sensible. This bit here I foresee as being a bit of an issue. This overdrive did sit, and if anyone thinks that this surface here can be salvaged, I'd be really interested in suggestions. I'd like to get this ground back, built back up, or sleeved, or something along those lines. And if anyone who knows anything about mechanical engineering or machining things could tell me, I'd really appreciate that. So that needs fixed. Main shafts, not too hard to come by. I can get those. I have all the bearings. This little gear, I think that's the lay gear. Forgive my terminology. It's in good enough nick, and the little gear at the back is also in pretty good condition. So if I can get this one fixed up and maybe a replacement main shaft, we'll be laughing. Lots of new bearings. I've bought the new balls and springs for the synchro unit, but this is going to need completely rebuilt, and I will make a video about that as well. So any suggestions about rebuilding an overdrive that are helpful, I'd really appreciate it. Everyone who says, oh, just throw it in the bin, that's not helpful. It's an old Land Rover. I have all the Fairey bits and pieces for it. I have the Fairey winch, the Fairey freewheeling hubs, so anything like that, any suggestions will be greatly appreciated. Finally for this video, please excuse the mess in the back of the Land Rover. The children have been in here. I have one seat in the back with one seat belt. I'm going to put a second seat belt in here and probably put another bench seat in here with 2 seat belts. As I said, I have 3 children and a wife, and we do like to go out in the Land Rover, so that's the plan. I do be quite conscious about the safety aspects, so getting the seat belts in is important, and I would like them to be safely and secure in the back, because I want to use this Land Rover as much as possible now, especially if I can get this overdrive rebuilt and travel a bit more distance. I'm not looking to go around Africa or across the continent of Europe, but I just want a comfortable cruiser that I can go for day trips to the beach or whatever and use from there. Thanks very much for watching this video. I really hope you find it interesting, and it'll give you some idea of the things that I'm going to be covering here on the Rescue Saga YouTube channel in the weeks and months ahead. There's always plenty to be done on these older vehicles. Land Rovers don't get a good name for reliability, but I like to maintain this as best I can to maintain it as a reliable and usable vehicle. So once again, thanks for watching. Catch me on Facebook and Instagram. I do lots of updates across those channels as well, and I appreciate if you give me a like and a follow here on the YouTube channel as well. I reply to all my comments, even if they're unhelpful, but I'd appreciate your input. Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye now.